Hi guys, how are you all today morning? Good morning. Today is 9th July 2023. My name is T.S.V. Raghavan and I live in Chennai, Tamil Nadu, India. This is my spiritual vlog on YouTube. Haribol TRSV Nectar NECTAR Nectar. In this particular vlog, in all my previous videos, we have been discussing about the knowledge and information that we have gleaned through the study of spiritual books, scriptures, contemplation on the material universe, and meditation on the spiritual universe. This particular video in the vlog is no exception to that rule. In fact, it is a mere continuation of all what we have been doing in all my previous videos. Please subscribe to this vlog and press the bell icon so that I may keep reminding you of all my previous and future videos. So let us continue with the topic for today's discussion in this particular video. In the past few videos, we have been discussing about the elements that constitute the gross body of a human living entity. We have already discussed about the first air, second fire, and third water element in the constitution of a human living entity's gross body. Today we shall discuss about the fourth and final element in the gross body of a human living entity. This particular element is known as earth. We all know that total there are 5 elements that constitute the whole body. Of these, the first ether is used only to make up the layers of the subtle body, namely causal intelligence, astral mind, and etheric senses. The fourth gross body is made up of the other 4 elements, namely air, fire, water, and earth. Air emanates out of the original first element, ether. Fire emanates out of air. Water emanates out of fire, and the final earth emanates out of water. This is how the constitution of all layers of a material body happen according to this material world. We all know that these material bodies are meant only to wrap around the spirit soul to prevent it from disturbing the material world. Anyway, let us talk about the fourth gross element, earth, in this particular video. We know that it emanates out of the third element called water. This earth is actually the real framework which is visible through the naked eye of everyone in the society. In fact, it is earth that provides the required vision to every other human living entity to identify this particular human living entity. As has been already described before, this happens to not only human but all living entities. Trees, plants, animals, beasts, amphibians, reptiles, birds, humans, and other species are identified by their gross body, of which the fourth element, earth, plays a major part. Here I would hasten to add that ether, the first element, can neither be felt nor seen. It is totally subtle. Second, air can be felt but not seen. So is the case with fire in the gross body of a human living entity. However, the third and fourth elements, that is, water and earth, can both be seen as well as felt by a living entity. This fourth element, earth, is made up of the following particles or ingredients. They are bone for the complete skeleton, flesh, tendons, muscles, veins, nerves, and other such items which are needed to make up this gross body. The skeleton of a living entity is made up of bones. These bones contain the bone marrow within, and this bone marrow is used to make the blood of a living entity. Bone marrow is the original for blood in every living entity. The other particles of earth, namely flesh, muscles, veins, nerves, etc., are made up of an item called cartilage. This cartilage is smooth and very, it does not have bones, so it is very pliable and flexible. That is precisely the reason why the cartilage is used to make up flesh, muscle, veins, nerves, etc. Of these, mainly flesh and muscles, etc., are within the body, whereas the skin, which covers the whole gross body, is quite visible to the naked eye. According to the seasons, circumstances, and other metabolisms and medical reasons, the color or complexion of skin of a living entity change, especially when that human living entity is a human. As for example, the color of skin of various people may be yellow, dark, brown, black, olive, white, etc. It does not have anything to do with the superiority or otherwise of any human living entity. They are plainly because of the genetic tendencies and the climate of a particular living entity in which he or she is born or brought up. Even blacks who live in cold climates may become more white, and those whites who live in tropical or equatorial climates may one day become darker than their white counterparts. Same is the case with the yellow, the brown, etc. It has nothing to do with the superiority or inferiority of any human living entity. One cannot judge the superiority or otherwise of any human living entity according to his or her color of the skin. This we must remember before proceeding further. Now, this earth, as has been mentioned before, is very important in the sense that it directly absorbs all the outside forces and their effects on the gross body of a human living or any other living entity. The influence of all natural forces from outside are first born according or by this material gross body's earth element. The other elements, air, fire, and water, take the brunt of this force only after the earth takes the maximum, that is almost 50 to 60% of that force. We all understand that whenever there is a calamity or a disaster or climatic change, etc., it is this earth element in the gross body which takes the brunt of the force of that particular event or that particular activity in the nature. Similarly, when a human being or any other living entity is attacked due to enmity, fights, wars, deprivations, etc., including accidents, it is this earth element that gets affected or otherwise first, and the other parts, that is air, fire, and water, get affected only later because they are safely ensconced into the skeleton of the gross body or within the body because of this protection provided by the fourth element, called the earth. Similarly, any living entity is identified by his or her earth element in the gross body. One person cannot be discovered or identified by the air, ether, fire, or water element in his or her body. Even intelligence, emotions, feelings, senses, etc., come only later when a person is judged by the society. It is the first appearance which is provided by the earth element that identifies with that particular human living entity or any other living entity. This is the part which is played by earth in the gross body of a human or any other living entity. Next comes skin. Skin is basically only a thin film or layer that covers the whole skeleton of earth of a gross body. It in fact covers the complete metabolism of a human living entity. However, though it is very thin, it is quite complicated and it plays a large part in the respiratory and digestive system of that particular metabolism. Similarly, this skin is made up of very complex network of nerves and veins which affect the complete gross body. Similarly, all the foreign objects that attract the gross body are first confronted by the skin, and that is the reason for all injury, rashes, scratches, wounds, cuts, etc., that this skin, which is a part of the earth, suffers. It does not allow any foreign attacker or force to attack the complete metabolism of the gross body, if it is possible for this particular skin. That is the reason why we are all affected by the attacks made by these foreign forces only indirectly. These things should be remembered by us while understanding this earth element. Similarly, the skeleton, which includes the vertebral column or the spinal cord, is extremely important. Plus, it also has several veins and nerves that balance the complete gross body of a living entity through the flow of blood and oxygen through them. The nervous or complex network of nervous system is directly controlled by the brain of a human living entity or any other living entity. This brain directly gets transmissions from the subtle bodies of etheric senses, causal intelligence, and astral mind. These transmissions are further relayed to the gross body of the living entity, and this living entity acts according to such transmissions from the brain. As I had mentioned even before, 75% of human beings spend 75 to 90% of the time listening to and adhering to the vibrations from the etheric senses alone. We all know that these etheric senses are of five types. They are sight, hearing, smell, taste, and touch. The gross body has five sense organs which act according to the etheric senses and their vibrations to the brain of the living entity. These five organs are known as two eyes, one nose, two nostrils, two ears, one tongue, and the complete skin that covers the gross body of a living entity. Thus, it is the etheric senses which is nearest to the gross body that controls the behavior, taste, preferences, wants, and fantasies of every living entity. However, the more this particular living entity is evolved in life, the lesser his or her dependence to the etheric senses. This person gradually turns towards the vibrations from the astral mind and the causal intelligence. That is precisely the reason why an illiterate, a semi illiterate, an educated, a qualified, a highly qualified living entity reacts differently to the vibrations from their respective subtle bodies. An intellectual will not react to circumstances same as a soldier or a rustic or a semi-literate or illiterate person will do. Workers are different from engineers who are more intelligent, educated, qualified, experienced, and matured. Same is the case with every other walk of life in a particular society. We shall discuss about all this in our future videos. For the time being, it suffices that we understand how earth, the fourth element in a body or gross body of a living entity, operates, reacts, and controls the complete metabolism of a living entity. All this is meant only to achieve the ultimate aim in our lives. These gross and subtle bodies have been given by the material world to us, the spirit soul, only to make us living entities get evolved slowly but steadily and ultimately become such evolved souls that we may get self realized, liberated from further births and deaths, and get delivered to the Supreme Personality of Godhead. All this is aimed at only that particular bull's eye. Kindly let me know what you think of my talk on this particular matter called Earth. Please give me your own expert opinions, thoughts, ideas, and views so that I may blend everything together for the sake of this society. Before concluding, let me tell you that I am also a published author with Amazon Kindle and paperback. I write on spiritualism, fiction, and assorted subjects. Spiritualism happens to be my favorite subject. Till we meet in my next video, it is good morning from TSV Raghavan.